Hello. Merry Christmas season. Welcome to another impromptu extra edition of Deprogram. We're doing another live Deprogram this week. This is part 3 in a series called Dinner with Racists. And I'm hoping this is our final. I said, my husband and I have a sort of a joke we do about, because we watch some weird documentaries. Sometimes we watched Escape from the Taliban, or we watched on a romantic trip in a romantic cabin, and we watched Osama bin Laden's hard drive, which was another document. So we would joke like, and now for the exciting conclusion of Osama bin Laden's hard drive. Now, so anyway, today, and now for the exciting conclusion of dinner party with racists. Anyway, part 3. Couple things. I'm not sure if we're definitely not doing a pop culture tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing a live show on Friday, so it's good we're doing all these extra ones this week, kind of to get to hang out and have a chat. If I'm able to, I will do one, but I've got family in town and for Christmas, and I'm going to be traveling that day as well, so we got to figure it out. Anyway, welcome. I want to say thank you to Benjamin from the chat. You guys might know Benjamin from the chat occasionally. My husband, I'm freshly showered. We were at the gym this morning, and then we came back, and Benjamin was like, "Hey, I'm coming through your area. And so he just stopped at our house. Benjamin from the chat, and gave us some homemade jam, and just delicious. And he made he's a blacksmith, and he made this steak turner thing for Anthony. It's so cool. And anyway, that was really nice. I've really enjoyed meeting people from the community, people that I've met online through the podcast or otherwise. And yeah, he's been to some of our house concerts as well, so we have met him before. But that was very cool. Okay, we're gonna get started because we really, I've taken a while, because we pause this and dissect it, and we've taken a while to get through this. To catch you up, there's a part 1 and 2 if you're new here. We are watching Deconstructing Karen, which is a documentary about Race2Dinner. Race2Dinner is one of these woke or social justice grifts, where the organizers, in this case, there's 2 organizers, Saira Rao and Regina Jackson. They make a lot of money. They specifically target wealthy, liberal, white women for this grift. They even tell you in the documentary that's who they target. In this case, Race2Dinner, this documentary was filmed in either 2019 or 2020, so a few years ago. At that time, it cost $2,500 to pay to come to one of these dinners. It's probably a lot more now. So they make a lot of money doing this. We saw them in part 1. We watched where they're excited about franchising and taking Race2Dinner to other towns. And basically, it's the people they target. It's wealthy liberal white women who want to be on the right side of history and feel like good people, and they are told this is a dinner for learning about how to end racism, and they come there and they get brainwashed, and they're basically attending what amounts to a struggle session where they are accused of white supremacy. We saw that has happened several times already. If they say they want their kids to live in a colorblind society where they don't judge and treat people differently on the basis of race, they're accused of being white supremacists, and they have to tearfully admit to their complicity in white supremacy, but they're not allowed to cry at the table, because white tears is another form of, they say white tears is that you are weaponizing your emotions, white people, and you're making it all about you. So they have to go away from the table to do that. It's all crazy. It's crazy. So we're right in the middle of this dinner party. Let's pull this up. We are at about 38 minutes in. And those of you who've been watching along, welcome back. Welcome back to the dinner party from hell. Here we go. I think what we're about to see is we're about to watch them explicitly again say that they oppose colorblindness. Now, for liberals, this is going to be confusing if you're a true liberal, because this is not social justice. Woke ideology is not liberalism. It's not. It's collectivist instead of individualist. It tells you to view people as identity group members and judge and treat them differently based on what identity groups they're in, including skin color. It's absolutely opposed to the ideals of Martin Luther King, for example, who said he hopes to live in a world where one day his children are judged for the content of their character instead of the color of their skin. If Martin Luther King were at this dinner, they would say, "Don't say that. That's white supremacy." Okay, let's continue.
Or how can we help our kids? How can we change it? Like, we have young children. What would you say? What do we do as parents with young children? How do we change this to not
acknowledging your racism and acknowledging your white privilege and having a conversation with your kids from the time that they were little? And step one, truly, and it seems easy, but right now we're seeing that it's not, is not getting fragile. And by fragile, not getting angry, not getting defensive.
These are all the things we've already seen. They want to brainwash your kids. Kids are easier to control, manipulate. One way to do that is through these women. You're not allowed to get defensive. You're not allowed to disagree with them. You're not allowed to cry or express any kind of emotion. They come up with, like a cult, they come up with phrases. They name this so it sounds academic. And so, oh, if you cry at the table because you're white, it's white fragility, and that's a bad thing. You're not allowed. They're allowed to have emotion. They're allowed to get defensive. They're allowed to disagree. They're allowed to do anything or say anything, but not you. And they're asking, how can we help? Well, look at what the cult things you have to do. Acknowledge. Is it a struggle session? You have to admit to sins you haven't committed. You have to admit guilt, like the Salem witch trials, things you haven't done. Acknowledge your white privilege. It's like confessing your sin. But it's unlike Christianity, this is a sin. Privilege is a sin that they dole out based on skin color and sex and other identity group. Like, what identity groups are you in? That determines how much sin you have. But they call it privilege.
Not getting upset and believing us. Like, please, whatever you do when you leave here, do not teach your kids to be colorblind. Do not talk about colorblindness. Don't say that I don't see the color of your skin and we cut ourselves open, it's bleeding red.
See? Don't teach your kids about MLK's dream, which was a colorblind society. Don't teach your kids that. See how much she's brought this up now, like 2 or 3 times. She really hated it when that woman said, but, appealed to our shared humanity and said, when we cut, we all bleed red. We're all the same. That she hates that. Of course she hates that. She's a racist. This is a racist ideology.
The thing that really needs to happen, frankly, is white women need to come together. You guys need to come together, because until and unless you come together, there's no hope for us. And right now what's happening is white Democratic women are attacking white Republican women and vice versa. And you both are taking the moral high ground and you're all the same. I knew that Donald Trump was going to win. The minute he started talking about Mexican rapists, I knew that was going to be a benefit, not a detriment.
They're bringing. What's so funny here? I love this. What is it? How does it feel, white Democrats? I was a Democrat my whole adult life until 2016. I changed to Green Party after I voted for Bernie in the primaries. And after the primaries, and I saw how the DNC cheated and tilted things to Hillary, I changed to Green briefly. A couple years later, I became an independent. I'm not a member of any party. That's for anybody who's new and doesn't know. Anyway, to the people who are still Democrats, especially the ones who I think mistakenly think there are good guys and bad guys when it comes to political parties. How does it feel if you think you're one of the good guys? I'm a Democratic white woman. And they're like, she just said you're the same as the Republican white women. You're the same. How's it feel? I guess you're a Republican now. Are you new to this? Are you new to this?
In drugs, they're bringing crime, They're rapists. They want to change your religion. I don't think so. Not going to happen. I am the least racist person in this room.
Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met.
President Trump is not backing away from his stunningly racist attack on a group of minority members of Congress. Instead, he's trying to defend it.
They're not happy here. They can leave.
Why do we want these people from, quote, all these shithole countries here?
What?
I'm sorry, that's one of the funniest. It's crass. It's not very becoming of a president to use this language, but it's also funny. Both things are true. And some countries are shithole countries. Some cultures are shithole countries or cultures. Some people are shitholes. There is such a thing as objective reality. Woke wants us to pretend that cultures that stone women and throw gays and lesbians off of rooftops, that those cultures, that we're all the same, equally valid. No, that's not true. By the way, we're not safe from this. I think the US is rapidly becoming a shithole. Pardon my language.
What the hell is going on?
But what Donald Trump's presidency has done for me has completely taken the veil off of white liberals and white Democrats and your complicity in Donald Trump. Over the next few months, I started paying a lot more attention. I typed out an essay. I'm a brown woman who's breaking up with the Democratic Party. And I just laid out, I'm done with the party. They don't care. They don't care about Black people. They don't care about marginalized people. They care about themselves and being white saviors. And I put that into words. The Huffington Post ran it, and it went fully viral. Dear Democratic Party, you are the love of my life. I fell in love early and hard. I've been the kind of party loyalist, the kind of sappy, soapboxy, cliched devotee that makes Fox News moonwalk with glee. The first vote I ever cast at 18 was for Bill Clinton. The last vote I cast was for his wife, Hillary. My adoration for Hillary bordered on mania. In college, I named my ficus plant after her. 20 years later.
That's funny. We have so many similarities because I was in this liberal and then went beyond liberal, became a leftist, very illiberal, woke person like Saira. For 2 decades, I was in the woke cult that she's in. And what did she say? She named her ficus after Hillary. I had a fire newt. It's a kind of newt when I was in college, and I named him Gingrich. So I also had a political name, Fire Newt Gingrich. She said she was borderline obsessed with Hillary. That might be a red flag if you're borderline obsessed with any politician, right or left. Might be a bit of a red flag if you're borderline obsessed, whether you love them or hate them. If you're obsessed with Trump because you love him, or if you're obsessed with him because you hate him, something's probably wrong. If you're obsessed with Hillary because you love her, or obsessed with her because you hate her, something's probably wrong. There's something going on with you psychologically, I would say.
I canvassed, held fundraisers, even dragged my 8-year-old daughter door to door. I loved you so much, I cried each time I voted.
Wow.
You've been that kind of mad love to me, and now I want to break up. I realize now that the love has been one-sided, unrequited. You've never recognized me as a brown woman. You've taken my love, my money, my tokenism with nary anything in return.
Okay. Here, give me a second. Have you noticed how politicians have become, there's this trend towards, in part because of woke culture, politicians, they speak in terms that they never used to speak in. Especially the squad, a lot of the ones on the left, they talk about the government loving you. We love you. They speak in these, Josh Slocum calls it female kind of language. They speak in this female kind of language where it's all about feeling things, and they speak as if they're a parental figure or a loving God, some of them. And I think some of the people who vote, especially on the left, view them this way. They really do view the government this way. And so this is so weird, the way she's describing she was in love with the Democratic Party, and now she's realizing they never loved her back. Yeah, of course. Of course. But now she's taken to writing this scornful letter. This makes me think of like a cluster B girl who becomes obsessed with a guy and just won't let it go, even, you know, if he has to get a restraining order or something. I'm thinking of, I just watched that documentary series, Escaping the Twin Flames cult, and there were several women in that cult who they were paying all this money, just like these Race2Dinner things. They were paying all this money to get something psychologically in return. And what they're getting in that cult was the promise that they were going to find their twin flame. And the two con artists who run that cult they would seriously tell them in video conference calls, like if they said, well, my twin flame, they would give updates. My twin flame has filed a restraining order against me, and I'm not really sure what, and the leaders of that cult would be like, don't give up. Persistency. And you're like, what? No, there's a restraining order involved. Anyway, Saira Rao kind of reminds me of that documentary a little bit right here. She's like that obsessive person who doesn't take no for an answer, and something's a little bit wrong with them, and she's in love with the Democratic Party, and then and she tries everything, and then when she realizes they never really loved me, she's gonna burn it all down. Like, oh man. Betty Broderick. That's another true crime story she makes me think of. Okay, let's continue.
You married the white woman and hooked up with me on the side. Black Lives Matter is a second or third thought. Where's your outrage over the national epidemic of police brutality against Black people? And for all your talk about dreamers, there's been little action. You don't seem to give a crap about kids of color who will be kicked out of this country, the only country they know. What if all those dreamers were white? I suspect a very different outcome. My fellow brown and Black sisters started to notice too, and then the chatter began. First in
Did she just now notice that, you know, Obama deported more people than Bush did? They called him the deporter in chief. I was a part of several social justice groups around immigration. We went down. I was a part of one group called Culture Strike. We went down to the border, and we were shooting. I was with another comedy group that was part of Culture Strike, and we were shooting a documentary. And we went to an immigration. Anyway, the people who were in that part of woke, in the immigration side of it, I mean, they knew. I guess a lot of people who are just in the mainstream part of the left don't really, because they just get the skewed news, right? Like they're like, oh, Democrats love illegal immigration. We love it. Just open the borders. Obama himself said that the DREAM Act was temporary, that we were supposed to figure a solution out, which we haven't. But he deported more people than W.
Whispered hushes and then loud and clear. You are a party of white feminists. Of white feminism. The kind of feminism that focuses on the struggles of white women. It was the first time I'd heard the term, most likely because self-awareness is hard, and I was a brown woman trapped in a white feminist world. But then I woke up and I saw you with clear eyes for the very first time. I know there's some good ones among you, but for every Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, or Pramila Jayapal who are sticking their brown and Black necks out for me, there are dozens of white women Democrats who want me to shut my trap.
So, do you see what she's doing? She's using racist language, but it's okay because she's talking about white people, and they've redefined racism so that it's not racist. Remember, it's just prejudice. They've said racism equals prejudice plus power. Therefore, if their target is someone that they put in a group that they say has power, then they can't be. It's impossible to be racist. Can you imagine if I was like, listen, Black people, I know there are some good ones among you. It's so stupid. But they say stuff like this all the time. And you know what? Speaking of systemic racism, which we talked about in part 2, there's a lot of systemic racism going on currently. That's kind of new. Became in vogue in the past 2 decades because of social justice. And it's against white people and Asian people. In the college admissions process, it has been perfectly fine to racially discriminate against predominantly Asian people, also white people. That's fine, but that's systemic. That's systemic, institutionalized racism, and they're fine with it. You know what else is systemic is this cultural attitude here where you can say really racist things about white people and nobody bats an eye because they've redefined racism. So it's fine, right? I'll tell you, Saira, if someone like Saira is ever listening or finds this video, it doesn't offend me in any personal way. Like, I'm a white person, how dare you say that about me? It's just an observation that it's happening. And quite frankly, I think you should learn how to develop a tougher skin if and when you do hear things that are actually racist against an Indian person or a black person. Get a tougher skin. But what woke does is not saying, it's not teaching, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for white people. It's not good for black people. It's not good for Indian people. What it says to people of color is overreact to everything. Take every personal, individual instance of racism and pretend like that is the whole. And that's what the whole world is like. I know the whole world is not like Saira. And they don't say things like, I know some of you white people are good. She's not even saying that, actually. She's saying, I know some of you Democrats are good. And then I don't think she named a single white person. It's pretty funny. Who are the good ones, Saira? Well, they're not the white ones, right?
Scrap and just say please and thank you. I should be grateful for scraps while white women enjoy a proper marriage with you. I'm done with all that. In the meantime, I'll be on the sidelines, waiting, watching, hoping, praying. You broke my heart. The response was, why don't you run for office? Which is so funny because it's so privileged.
Oh my gosh. This is the response from an emotional, female-driven party, I would say, in some way. Why don't you run for office after that kind of emotional love letter? I mean, that's the kind of thing you would read in a women's magazine or some kind of it's not a political position paper. It's you broke my heart, like a love letter, like a heartbroken love letter. It's not, there's not a political position. Why don't you know who'd be a good person in office? This person who feels
like the amount of privilege it takes to run for office, but most people can't do that. If I don't challenge the status quo, then I need to shut up. If I have the privilege to challenge the status quo and I don't, then I need to shut up. And I said, I'm running for Congress. And I just did it. People call me an angry brown woman.
Too ambitious.
Bitchy.
Bossy.
Pushy.
Shrill.
Emotional.
Abrasive.
Impatient.
Nasty.
Why are you running as a Democrat?
I'm running as a Democrat because I think we can take the party back.
I thought, you know what? The chances of me winning are less than slim to none. But I'm going to mainstream the topic of white supremacy within the Democratic Party come hell or high water.
Saira's campaign was very unusual in that the people who worked on her campaign were largely people of color. The commitment was huge, and it was very different from most campaigns.
Those kids in cages could be your kids. Yeah. Those parents could be me. Those parents could be you. Let's be clear about this. Removing kids from their parents is...
Kevin says, is she an actual Marxist? No, I don't think so. I mean, she could be, because look at how rich she is. I mean, we saw her house, and she's making a good living off of pushing this ideology. But no, I don't think she's an actual Marxist. The Marxists, they believe that the root of everything is class and wealth. Like, we need to redistribute wealth among class groups. The social justice, the woke people think it's about identity and power. We need to redistribute power among the identity groups. And actually, it's the woke and sometimes I call them woke Marxists. It evolved from Marxism, the identity Marxists like Saira. Let's just call them the woke for now. The woke sort of effectively killed the Occupy Wall Street movement. That movement, and there are a lot of Marxists who, like real Marxists, who still believe that the way to solve everything and the way to look at the world is as this struggle for wealth among class groups. The real Marxists actually hate the woke because they're like, no, it's not about power and identity. It's about class and wealth.
This dictionary definition of fascism. And then I started picking up a lot of steam by the progressives, by brown people, by black people, by white millennials, by people in tech. So how many people in this room voted for Donald Trump? Okay. How many people did not?
Andrew says, wrong. The Marxists merged the race struggle into the class struggle mythos a long time ago. Yeah, they did do that. They have, and there are some people who I guess you could say are both. They're the identity Marxists and the classic Marxists together somehow. But there are also people who are straight up old school Marxists and who hate this identity Marxist stuff because they correctly view it as it's not Marxism. That's what it is it's mutated from Marxism. That's why if I get people in my comments and they're like, stop calling it Marxism, it's not. I'm like, I know what you mean. But Marxism, identity Marxism is a good shorthand for it. And I also understand why people like James Lindsay just call it Marxism because it's just evolved. But it's the same blueprint.
I'll vote for Donald Trump. The ones of us who did not vote for Donald Trump, do you think you're less racist? Tech. So how many people in this room voted for Donald Trump? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
How many people did not vote for Donald Trump?
Oh my gosh. Did you notice the two? I'm shocked, actually. I didn't think there would be any because they target liberals. I didn't think there would be any Trump voters there. But how funny that the two Trump voters are the two who said they want to live in a colorblind society, a non-racist society, and the two that have been piled on this whole time.
Trump.
Now, these are the ones that didn't vote for Trump.
The ones of us who did not vote for Donald Trump, do you think you're less racist than these two?
That's a weird judgment.
I think I'm more aware of my racism than those two. That's pretty ignorant.
The reason these conversations are hard is we've never had truth and reconciliation in this country. Let's take a step back. Based on the genocide of indigenous people, the enslavement of Africans, so brown and black, then the Chinese were brought in to build a railroad, and then like Asians like me, where my family was brought in to deal with science. And by the way, the Indians left India because the British committed genocide in India. It's literally whiteness has killed the brown and black world. Donald Trump has not created racism. Donald Trump has shown us what it is.
One of the questions I have is, why is it that white people think they're the only Americans, that they think they're real Americans?
Well, let me ask you a question, Regina. Why is it that you think that white people think they're the only Americans? Because we don't. This is a you problem in your head problem, honey. This is something you should have a good therapist who's not woke help you sort through why you have such prejudiced assumptions, bigoted opinions about what white people think. Look at this white lady. She's loving it. She's like, get us.
And the rest of us are like pretend Americans. What is that about?
I think I have a little bit of a problem with the we versus I. I think that there is the big perpetual we, right? We white women for sure. But I think there's also we African Americans and we were slaves, right? And these things happen to us. That doesn't happen to everybody, right? I mean, and you, I understand. And I am here.
It happened to all African Americans. Yeah.
It didn't happen to you.
Listen.
It did not happen to you. That's a great point. Now she's about to get her back up and get riled and angry, but it did not happen to you. Oh gosh, what's his name? There's a professor that I had on, Professor Allen. I think that's his name. It's been so long since I talked to him. Hold on one second. Let me just look this up because you guys need to know this guy because he's amazing. It's been a few years since I interviewed him. Yes. Professor William B. Allen, who's a historian. And actually, so I interviewed him a few years ago, but he just recently was in the news again because he co-authored some of the new lesson plans in Florida, which the media, of course, is criticizing and the left is criticizing and saying it's leaving out history, it's leaving, and when it actually, no, it's just not teaching CRT. It's not leaving anything out of history. In fact, it added sections about people of color. But Professor William B. Allen, who's a historian, happens to be Black historian. When I interviewed him, he was talking about social justice and how it teaches young Black people to carry around this unearned victimhood. And the victimhood, which also it's not good for you. This ideology, it does the same thing to women. It tells us to carry around an unearned victimhood. And over time, psychologically speaking, it puts you in a place of resentment. And when you walk into a room, you're automatically assuming that people are against you because of your race or your sex or your sexuality or whatever. And you're operating from that place of defensiveness, assumptions like Regina's making about people, because you're viewing people as groups. And you're viewing yourself as part of some oppressed group. But I remember, I will never forget in that interview, Professor Allen said he had a Black student. And I forget what the student said, but it was something to the effect of, we, meaning we Black people. And he was talking about slavery and and Professor Allen said, can you take your shirt off? And the student was like, why? And he's like, I want to see your back. I want to see the lashes. That's a really arresting comment to make. It's attention grabbing, and it should be. And I can't remember what he told that student exactly. It's been a few years since I interviewed him, but it was something to the effect of, you are walking around like you suffered through what your ancestors actually did suffer through, making light of it. And you're carrying this unearned victimhood around with you. And it's like, it's not healthy for you. White people have been slaves as well. It's like they want us to start history 400 years ago or something and only look in the US. And, when it becomes a part of your mythos in this way, your cultural story, where it's like, this is who you are and it's part of your identity, it's not healthy. Unearned pride based on race, unearned pride is not healthy. White pride is not healthy. Black pride is not healthy. Walking around like some of the white pride people, or, I'm so proud because white people invented this. So I didn't invent it. White people are not my people. There's this thing about unearned pride and unearned guilt and unearned victimhood. It's this, you're taking it from the collective. You're taking your identity from the collective, which is what woke and social justice is all about. Again, it's collectivist. It's like, define yourself based on what all these people who happen to share your race did, what other people who happen to share your sex did. It's not good for us. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here now, but I'm just thinking more about that because I know what's about to happen. She's about to get her back up because that woman just correctly pointed out you did not live through slavery. Look at the other white woman gasping.
What is that about?
I think I have a little bit of a problem with the we versus I. I think that there is the big perpetual we, right? We white women for sure. But I think there's also we African Americans and we were slaves, right? And these things happen to us. That doesn't happen to everybody, right? I mean, and I understand, and I am here.
It happened to all African Americans. Yeah.
It didn't happen to you.
Listen.
It didn't.
One of the things that we know, one of the things, let me just say.
I have a lot of Native American history, and I don't take advantage of any of that.
Time out. Are you saying that Black people, African Americans, descendants of slaves, are taking advantage of that?
No,
You just said
that's not what I'm saying.
You just said that you have a lot of Native American and
right.
you don't take
I'm
advantage.
taking advantage of the government's.
You actually know that more white people are on welfare than Black people, right? You know that, don't you?
Sure. But I don't know.
There are more. The country is only, is it 13 or 16% Black? So if you're speaking in raw numbers, yes. Why does it matter? Are you speaking per capita, like as a percentage of population? It's just a weird kind of a gotcha. Like there are white people who take advantage of the system, or another way of phrasing that, there are white people and Black people who take advantage of the system. Another way of phrasing that, there are white people and Black people who the government has conditioned to become dependent on a check and seemingly have no incentive to leave that state of being. Yes, we know it's white and Black people, Regina.
Well, what are you saying? I don't understand.
In a racist statement, when people are, I feel like there's a lot of conversation where I constantly do feel like it is we, African American culture, bad things are happening to us, big picture we. And I do agree that there is a lot of big picture we, bad things happening to us.
All the time.
And I've seen it firsthand.
At these dinners, we see white women behaving badly, and that bad behavior looks like.
Well, so she's behaving badly because she's trying to have an honest and open conversation with you. That's behaving badly, right, Regina? Because what she's supposed to do, being a white lady, a white person, is to shut up and listen and only say the approved things that you think she should say, to only have the opinions that you have allowed her to have. She's not even allowed to have an emotion at the table. You are. She's not allowed to be defensive at the table, but you are.
Like denial of white supremacy, denial of racism, and even denial of slavery. This is nothing new. This has been going on for centuries.
Fact check, she didn't deny slavery. She said you were never a slave. Were you? I don't think you were. Sorry. I'm a little perturbed because every time we see one of these cutaways to Regina, she's telling lies. Well, Saira did too. She told the Muslim ban lie in part 2. But Regina's the one who said nothing has changed in the past 450 years in regards to race, meaning slavery never ended, or nothing has changed at all, she said, in the past 450 years. So slavery never ended. Women never got the right to vote. Black people never got the right to vote. We never made racist discrimination illegal. Segregation never ended. What else never happened? This woman's a straight up liar. Force of Light. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, ladies. She says, Merry Christmas, Keri. God bless, for $9.99. Thank you so much. I was meant to see your super chat at this moment because you're centering me and I was getting pretty angry and I need to calm down a bit. Not because I'm not allowed to have an emotion, Regina. Thank you very much. The Force of Light ladies. By the way, I have to shout out, I watched your whole reaction video to one of my favorite Christmas movies, The Long Kiss Goodnight, with Gina Davis and Samuel Jackson, and it was so entertaining. I put it on while I was cleaning, and it's fun because it's like you get to watch one of your favorite movies with someone who's watching it for the first time. That's what, if it was that kind of experience. You guys go check them out if you haven't already. Thank you. Okay. Let's continue this with this liar.
Therese.
So she just said that that woman denied slavery, which that woman did not do. And so now they're going to show us newspaper links, articles about like slavery happened. Yeah, we know. I'm going to skip ahead. You guys, I have like maybe 20 minutes left on this rental period for this video, and I don't want to have to pay for it twice. So let's just skip ahead to the dinner part, or the women preparing. Okay. This is their house white who works for them.
Oh my gosh. So this computer is fantastic, except that it needs to be plugged in.
What I just want to know is, are we moving along with getting dinner set up? Look, let's take a real step back here. We have all these Black and brown women who want to do this work around the country, and we don't have money from white women to fund software for them to be able to do it. So part of our...
So it's white women's responsibility to give them more money. It's up to white women to fund it. And what they're talking about is franchising. If you missed part 1, they were talking about finding these woke social justice high priestesses. High priestess is not their term. It's one that I use and my friend Gracie West uses. But it's sort of like the little cult leaders in each town and community. They want to find the Black and brown cult leaders in each town and community and franchise Race2Dinner and share in all the profits, right? Charging $2,500 a plate. And now here they're complaining that there aren't enough white women giving them money to help them finance this operation, this profit making. Do you remember the movie The Jerk when he's like, oh, it's a profit making scheme? It's a profit making scheme, and you got to fund it, white ladies.
Our business model is to actually get white women to think about how they're spending money, right? So if you're unwilling to drop $200 or $100 or $500, but you're willing to buy a $5,000 purse, or you're willing to take a $10,000 trip to Europe, once a year, every 2 years, 3 times a year, whatever it is, how you spend your money shows you how you value things, because we live in a capitalistic society.
Are you not an anti-racist wealthy white woman? Wealthy white woman, this is what she's doing. Did you just buy a $5,000 handbag? I thought you were a good person. I thought you wanted to be anti-racist. Why won't you give me your money? That's how you show you're anti-racist. Give me your money, white woman. That's how you show you're anti-racist.
Yeah. And so when you have white women patting themselves on the back and showing you like, me, pick me. I'm like the most woke. And then you're like, okay, it's going to be $250. And they're like, whoa. I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe this isn't a thing. Maybe
but we have to keep trying. And because, ultimately that could be the answer. It could be a social experiment where it's like, no, you all failed.
Do you guys want to take a guess if they actually pay their house white or not? I have a sneaking suspicion she's a volunteer.
I constantly toy with shutting it all down. It's thankless, and you don't. Where's the change?
Okay, this I've seen from grifters of all stripes, including some so-called anti-woke grifters. This is the feigned, I'm going to quit all of this and all the good work I do in the world unless you guys pay my mortgage. This is the I'm going to walk away from all this important work. I'm trying to end racism, guys, or in the case of anti-woke grifters, I'm trying to end woke, guys, but unless you give me money, I'm going to have to just step away from all of it. I don't know if I can do this anymore. This is, it's a tactic of a con artist, but it's a personality disorder tactic. It's cluster B manipulation through and through. It's emotional manipulation. It's a lesser degree of the threat to suicide, but it's a threat to quit. It's a threat to walk away from the grift. From the grift. I'm gonna quit all this work, even though it's so meaningful and important, unless you guys give me money. I gotta cure racism, but I can't do it unless you line my pockets. Okay, let's continue.
Thankless, and where is the change? Why is it that being called a racist makes you so upset?
It doesn't make me upset anymore, but it would have a while ago. I needed to understand what the term means and look at myself. And I believe that every white person is racist because of the system. And I had to learn about the system to get that.
Okay, so why does being called a racist upset you? Well, Saira, it's because being racist, hopefully we can all agree objectively, is a terrible thing. You would hope that we could agree on that it's a terrible thing to judge people, individuals, based on their race and to treat them differently based on their race. And we progressed at a point in society, fortunately, where culture changed enough that people came along with culture, and we got to a place where we're like, yeah, that's bad. We shouldn't do that. And when you're called something that you're not, it can be upsetting for people. I get called all kinds of things I'm not. It doesn't bother me anymore. But at the beginning, the fear that keeps a lot of people, that holds people back from saying all of this woke stuff is bullshit, the fear they have is, oh my gosh, what if people incorrectly called me a transphobe or a homophobe or a racist or a sexist or what, some kind of phobe? That holds a lot of people back because they don't want people to have the wrong idea about them. That's the correct answer. What's funny about this older white woman who answered, you could tell she's already been in the cult for a while because she gave the cult approved answer following that. She said, but I know all white people are racist and I had to learn that because of the system and I had to learn about the system, meaning she's like on stage 3 of woke indoctrination already. So she's now parroting what they want her to parrot. I am a white person who knows that I am a racist and all white people are inherently racist.
Why would it have bothered you before?
Because it's such a horrible word and I don't want to be so horrible.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to see myself as being so bad. I have had to work so hard on my shitty self-image to begin with. I don't want to add that one to it, racist? Oh God. I mean, you know, I'll be blunt. I have struggled with liking myself. Most of them I don't like, so that one I have, but I don't have a problem with it now. And that's because I've been practicing and working on it for a while, but a while ago.
I want to pause this to read this comment from Pathetic Hermetic. I love your name. He says, I used to be upset if someone thought I could be racist, but people like this cured me of that. So thank you to them sincerely. Yes. And if you are a person watching this who is critical of woke or is newly questioning woke and you are still held back by that fear, I'm just going to speak to those people specifically right now. I know that. I went through that period of fear. Everyone who leaves woke or who starts to question it goes through that period of fear. And some people get stuck there for a very long time. It took me about 6 months to get out of that period of fear. And if you get out of it, I'll make you this promise. I feel very confident making this promise. It sucks to go through that fear, and it sucks to face the consequences that you think are coming if you say what you really think or ask questions that you really have. It's scary, yes. And the fear is real because in this woke upside down world, you could lose your job, you could lose your security, your sense of safety, you could lose your well, your job, your income. You could lose your social circle, your friends, your good name. People could say things about you that aren't true. I had a former friend, a woke friend, who is a feminist media critic, and she on Twitter did posts about how her former feminist friend, had become a red-pilled white right-wing troll, and she called me a terrible thing. I've been called every name. That's untrue, but I'm telling you, it hurts when you're going through that. But here's the promise that I'll make you: once you get through that fear, it is so amazing on the other side. It's worth it. I would never go back. Never. Because I have the freedom to say what I want and what I think about things. And I don't let this very middle school kind of fear that a lot of adults have, even in adulthood, this middle school fear of like, what will people think? I don't let that censor me anymore. And as long as I'm saying what I believe to be true, that's all I care about. Is I'm saying what I believe to be true and I'm pursuing truth. That's it. And let people think what they want and say what they want. And I'm glad that people like this helped you, Hermetic, the guy who gave the super chat. I'm glad they helped you, and they should help you, because why should you care about the opinions of such low character racists like this? Why should you care? These are terrible people doing terrible things. And unfortunately, you might have friends and family who are caught up in this terrible ideology. It doesn't mean they're terrible people. There are good people who get caught up in it, but they're pushing terrible things. And so why should you think what a person who's pushing an evil ideology thinks about you, or a person who's gullible and pulled into this evil ideology? Why should you care what they think of you? I heard a quote once. It was like, a lion doesn't concern itself with the opinions of sheep. I don't know if that really applies here, but I like the saying.
It is work, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's work.
Sarah, I'm curious how you feel about, because I've said more than once, and they've mentioned it too, just this idea or this theory that every single white person in this country is racist.
You know, I would say, like, at the beginning of the conversation, it was a little offensive. I think throughout the conversation and understanding a little bit more of my ignorance in the definition of it, I feel like I've shifted a little bit. I will say that. I don't want to be thought of somebody that doesn't like somebody because of the color of their skin. And to me, that's where racism, the term racism, falls. And so I guess learning a little bit about that's not necessarily what the definition of racism means changes it for me a little bit.
The fear that I
See that? She just admitted that because they've changed the definition of racism for her, that's helping to ease her into accepting all of this. Because to admit that she is racist, which means it really means that you judge and treat people differently on the basis of race, that it's not so hard for her to admit she's racist if the definition means something else. This is a cult.
have is that my son goes through the experience that he did. I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about him becoming the white supremacist and pushing it down into the
You have the conversation.
So yes, I have the conversation.
Yeah, over and over and over and over and over again. It's the first step. Just like Regina always says, like, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And the fact that you're able to acknowledge this is a big deal. It's not a small deal, it's a huge deal, because it means you're open and instead of this. And if you're open, then you can actually start like engaging and pass it along to your kids.
Okay, what Saira means by open here is not open-minded. Remember, think about what we've seen at this dinner. You're not allowed to have a different opinion. You're at all. You're not allowed to say anything different. She even said, "Don't say colorblind again." Don't say you want your kids to she said that. Don't say it again. You're not allowed to be open-minded. You can't have a difference of opinion. You must only speak the cult-approved things. You can't show emotion. You can't be defensive. You can't, and any reaction you have other than swallowing all this and repeating it back to them is wrong. So she doesn't mean open-minded. When she says open, much like a cult, they are psychologically tearing you down and building you back up again. They're programming you. She wants you to be open to her tentacles in your mind. There's a great quote in the chat. Kyle, well, let me do Kyle's, then I'll do the one I was thinking of. Kyle says, but when the sheep are great in numbers and can ostracize you from society, the fear of ostracism is understandable because being kicked out of society often meant death. I agree. It is understandable. I'm saying all the fears are understandable, but I still think you will be very grateful if you get to the other side of them. I've been very grateful. I don't regret. I would not go back. This is the quote, the Bible verse I wanted to bring up. Thank you so much, JLCBVID. He says he or she says they tie up heavy burdens hard to bear and lay them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger. Matthew 23:4. Jesus talking about the Pharisees. What an excellent quote. Thank you for sending that piece of scripture because that describes these grifters perfectly.
Should I give up on white people? And yes or no. Brown and black people cannot dismantle white supremacy. White people do. That was the gist of his essay. And so I tweeted it, and I said, long and short answer, yes. And
I remember this. The essay was basically, should I cut white people out of my life? Should I just be 100% thorough in my racism, right? And Saira, of course, says yes, get rid of white people unless they work for you and say and parrot everything you want them to. But I remember when this happened, and that's when a bunch of people first became aware of her.
then Breitbart picks it up, and then the Daily Stormer picks it up.
Notice how somehow she's the victim here after just saying something extremely racist. What about me? Should I give up on black people? The answer, sadly, is yes. And then if people were to react negatively to that, which I hope they would, I'm a victim here. People are reacting negatively to this horribly racist thing I said.
And then the next thing you know, I'm getting DMs that I'm a Muslim cunt.
Which again is what she wants. And the people who she manipulates this way why? Let's skip ahead.
Is it terrible?
No.
How long is it?
It looks like it's a couple of pages. Would you like me to read it out loud?
How are the pictures?
The pictures are great. Do you want to see them? Or do you want to just sit there and be sick? Okay. Now, see, isn't that a good picture? Yeah. White women are uniquely placed to challenge racism because of their proximity to power and wealth, Jackson says.
It seems unlikely anyone would voluntarily go to a dinner party.
So see, she said something very incendiary and super racist. It got picked up and attention was brought to it. She complains that she's the victim because people were calling her out for it. She complains that she got racist hate mail, which she did, but she wanted the racist hate mail. That itself becomes a story that she's getting the racist hate mail now. And then she gets huge mainstream promotion, like the article that she's reading now is the one that we started this whole series with in part 1 in The Guardian. She gets mainstream news coverage and promotion for Race2Dinner. So this is all a win-win for these con artists. This is all a win-win.
In which they'd be asked one by one, what was a racist thing you did recently by 2 women of color before appetizers were served? A lot of people hate Saira.
Jackson recalls her initial impressions of Rao as honest and willing to call a thing a thing. But even for those who complain, something has changed. Isn't that the good part?
It's good!
I hate these signs. These signs are all over Austin. Those of you who've been watching for a while now know that I came up with my own version of this dumb sign, but of course there's one of these signs there. This sign is such empty virtue signaling. It's like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, duh. Women's rights are human rights. Yeah, of course. I mean, all these things, it's like you might as well put up a sign that's like, in this house, we believe that murder is wrong, right? Not like you guys who don't, it's like, what? This is a sign about shitting on other people. It's like, in this house, we believe that women are people. Yes. So does everyone. You sanctimonious jackass. In this house, we don't believe in rape, not like you people out there who don't have the sign.
I think my mom would be extremely proud of what I'm doing, though I think there would be this tremendous fear. I know that I wouldn't be doing this. I know that I wouldn't have even woken up brown if my mom was still alive. And I think about that all the time. I would not be alive right now in this incarnation if my mom was still here. It's a very strange thing. What we're saying is you guys need to pull your heads out of your asses, acknowledge your own racism, make it right, stop caping for white dudes, join us, and let's overthrow the patriarchy.
Oh, gosh.
But none of that happens until you acknowledge your own racism.
But so many of us.
This, I just have to pause here. None of that happened. So leading all the way up to overthrow the patriarchy, which of course, this is, again, is all intertwined. Even though this dinner is supposed to be about race, sex, gender, all of that's a part of woke. That's why they're always bringing up things like that as well. This is all under the woke umbrella. Because again, woke is social justice is the belief that the best way to view the world is as a competition for power among identity groups. And they have all these different categories of identity: race, sex, sexuality, size. And in each of those categories, they divide people up into oppressed and oppressor, or marginalized and privileged. They do it in the size category. They say people of size are oppressed. And so, of course, she's bringing up sex and gender. And then this all culminates with then we overthrow the patriarchy together. Now you're bringing in the feminist part of woke, right? But what did she say right after that? None of that happens until you guys confess your white privilege and your racism. Why does it start with that? Because they're breaking people down psychologically. This is how cults reprogram people. Regina said something similar in part 2 of our series, when we're watching this documentary. Regina, remember, said there has to be this emotional moment. They are trying to break people down psychologically and emotionally. If those 2 women that they were piling on, the 2 Trump voters, the ones who said they want to live in a colorblind society, the ones who are who spoke truly liberal principles, if they could get one of those women broken down through social peer pressure enough at this dinner to cry away from the table, mind you, they're not allowed to cry at the table, but to cry and to confess her racism and her complicity in white supremacy, that is a huge win, because that woman has now had this emotional moment that feels redemptive. You get the pat on the back afterwards. Now you're one of the good ones. You've confessed your sin. This is how it all starts. This is cult programming. This old white lady here in front of us has already had that moment. She's on stage 2 or 3. She's already there saying, I'm a white person, therefore I'm racist. All white people are racist. I've already had that awakening. They're trying to get those two. It's like it's like in a church when they have the call to the altar at the end. They're trying to get those two to walk down to the altar and accept social justice as their personal savior.
Us grow up learning this wonderful history and to be proud of the founding fathers and this democratic system and blah, 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 blah. But it's important that we learn how we've been programmed and the trance that we're in. It's a trance. It really is.
It's a programming that needs to be overcome, indeed.
Who do we want to be?
Why does it all have to have labels anyway, though? And indeed, I understand you have issues with a skin color, okay? But I don't believe that's our future. I really don't. I see it much different. I understand it's a struggle for you now. I get that. And I empathize with that. But do I love you less because you're a different color? Absolutely not.
But do you realize that everything you're saying is taking away everything they just said?
That is such everything you just said is such bullshit, frankly.
But it is. It is.
She said, did you hear Saira? And it's such bullshit, frankly. So this woman just said, I acknowledge that you two women of color earlier said you don't trust me because I'm white. You don't trust any white person. You've never trusted a white person. You've never met a good white person. And I still love you. I understand that. She's like basically saying, I understand your racism. And I still love you. And I don't think that's our future. I think our future is what's the opposite then? Liberal. Liberal is a society where we don't judge people on the races, on the basis of their race. Right. And so how do they react to that beautiful sentiment that like, I still love you, despite the fact that you have this racist opinion of me? She didn't put it in those words because you can't call it racist, right? Because it's not racist. But I still love you despite the fact that you don't trust me because I'm white. Simply because I'm white. I still love you. And I still think that I envision a future for all of us where race doesn't matter. And what did Saira just say? It's bullshit, frankly. It's bullshit.
And you have issues with a skin color, okay? But I don't believe that's our future. I really don't. I see it much different. I understand it's a struggle for you now. I get that. And I empathize with that. But do I love you less because you're a different color? Absolutely not.
But do you realize that everything you're saying is taking away everything they just said?
That is such everything you just said is such bullshit, frankly.
But it is. It is.
It's such bullshit, frankly, is what she said. Your love for us, your belief and hope that our future is not racist is such bullshit, frankly. Wow. I'm telling you, if you're liberal and you're watching this, I hope women who are thinking of going and paying all this money to go to one of these dinners, I hope you find this video. These con artists are not liberals. They are not teaching you how to be anti-racist. They are teaching you how to be more racist. Social justice racists. This is why they hate colorblind society. This is why they hate actual anti-racism. They hate it. They hate the sentiment of it. They hate the hope for it. They call it bullshit.
But it is. You literally erased everything this woman just said. Like everything.
Because you want me to apologize for that? Because really, I believe it's a real struggle.
Honestly, if you're not sorry, don't apologize.
No,
but
I believe it's a real struggle. But I do believe there's more.
But you're talking about love and about the future. She's worried that her kids are going to die.
What is love?
What is love? What is that? About feeling love.
We kind of had this conversation before the dinner a little bit, and I got a sense of this, is that you.
Now Saira's acting like she doesn't know what love is, although we just saw her deliver a love letter to the Democratic Party about how she was in love with them.
You read the book The Secret, and you think that we can all get better lives based on good intentions. We just got to be positive and like want good for our lives. But what do you want about feeling?
We are telling you, and you can Google police brutality, Google ICE, Mexicans, Google Muslim ban. Those are like real things. We're also anecdotally telling you things, and you keep coming back with this, frankly, BS about love being love and love trumps. Like, what do you mean by that?
What I mean,
these people Look at what what are their enemies of social justice? Because they've pointed them out to us. What have they gotten the most angry about? Like a demon getting hit with holy water. What have they reacted to the most? Colorblind society. Living in a colorblind society where people don't judge and treat each other differently on the basis of race. That's like throwing holy water on these demons. They hate it. Appealing to our shared humanity, saying if we cut, we all bleed red. They reacted to that like 3 times. And now look at this. Love and true grace. Like this woman just told them, essentially, I don't care if you have racist beliefs about me, I still love you and have hope for the future. Like a holy water on a demon. What is this love you speak of? They can't stand it. They can't stand it. They can't stand it. If you know what what they view as an enemy, a colorblind society, like true anti-racism, love, like then you know more about them and who they really are and what they really are teaching you.
Is that beyond the anger and the problems that we are feeling at the moment, each and every one of us, perhaps you two more at the moment, that there is something more to our beingness, and it isn't the flesh. It isn't. And beyond that, this is the evolution of all of us. I know this, and I know it sounds weird for those who aren't in that world, but we are transcending this. We are. And sir, I just want to say it again. Saira.
Oh my gosh, she just committed what in social justice is known as a microaggression. If you mispronounce someone's name and they're white, it's cool, it's fine. But if you mispronounce someone's name and they're not white, it is a microaggression and evidence of your white supremacy. I wonder if this is going to get called out.
I really appreciate everything you're offering. What I want to hear from you is what you think is a solution. You've talked a lot, but I haven't heard, hey, this is what I want you ladies to do.
Haven't I said repeatedly? Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to say
I acknowledge it. I acknowledge it.
But yeah, like,
but I just see beyond it.
She just said, what you need to do is acknowledge your white privilege. You need to acknowledge your white privilege. And this woman who's speaking about love says, but I do acknowledge it. I do acknowledge it. And then their favorite white sitting down there with them, their favorite white goes, yeah, but it's a cop-out. Meaning you didn't acknowledge it the right way. You're still not speaking. The stuff you're speaking right now about love, and that's not part of what we're teaching. You're speaking stuff that's not cult approved. Therefore, your acknowledgement of your white privilege is a cop-out. It's not real. You're not really saved.
Say one thing.
Sure, I'm sorry.
No. I am a liberal white woman. We are absolutely the most dangerous women out there. We are the most dangerous women that exist because we want to think that we are better, that we are good, and that we're doing is about love, and that we're going to solve all the world's issues because we're going to love a little more because we're good.
Look at how they're making love such a bad thing. They're speaking about it like it's so bad. And they're trying to pretend like it's white. And what do we know is bad? White. White is bad. Anything that you want in social justice, because they've done such a good job of making the words, the identity groups, the oppressor identity groups bad, like white is bad, whiteness is bad, men is bad, masculinity is bad, straight is bad, all the oppressor categories are bad, right? So anything they link to those things that they've already made bad in the minds of their followers, it's easier to tarnish that thing. So for example, lately there's been this huge push to target in the media for the past year or two now, so-called Christian nationalism. Well, how do they get you to think of, or Christianity in general, how do they get you to think it's bad? Or how do they get people on the left who are already in their cult or who have imbibed some of their cult doctrine already? What's an easy way to get them to link it psychologically with something that's bad? You put white in front of it, or you put male in front of it. White Christianity. Oh, bad. That sounds bad. And so what is she doing right here? She's linking love with whiteness. We white women, we are all about like, oh, we can love. Love isn't white. Love isn't a white woman thing. She wants, though, to get the message across that love is never the answer.
Good freaking people. No, we are erasing their experiences. We are erasing their lives. We are erasing the danger that they're in because we're trying to color it, make it freaking pretty.
By calling it love.
By calling it love. And I'm sorry, but that is dangerous. Like,
But
that
I don't think that's what I'm doing at all.
But
I
you
totally
have done it
disagree with that.
repeatedly.
Yeah.
So you don't get to have a different opinion, even though she's acknowledged her white privilege and her internalized whatever, her white supremacy, her complicity in white supremacy. She cannot have a different opinion about anything, even about love. You can't have it. And their house white is sitting there, the one that works for them, and correcting her and she's speaking the cult doctrine. And look at Saira was sitting right there, right next to her, going, like an approving master.
Does love save the Mexicans who are in ICE facilities? Does love save Trayvon Martin? Does love save Sandra Bland? Does love save Mustafa Ayyubi, who was assassinated in February for doing nothing?
Does social justice save any of these people you just named? Does social justice stop anything that you've just named? Does social justice end racism? Does social justice help people find peace and contentment and joy? Does social justice solve people's psychological problems or things that they might be missing in their life? Does social justice end murder? Does social justice prevent evil in the world? Like, what is this game you're playing? It's a childish, ridiculous game. If I were at this dinner, I would say this back to her. Does social justice do what you're selling me? Does it do this?
What does you ask us, what can we do?
Did you hear the house white on the left, the one that works for them? She just said love doesn't do shit.
Seriously, and we've told you at least 10 times. Listen, what can we do to achieve?
We've told you at least 10 times. Listen. Again, you're white. Your job is to shut up and listen. You can't have opinions. There's no independent thought. This is a cult, ladies. These dinners are a cult. Social justice itself is a cult. There's no independent thought. You are under the mistaken impression that this is a conversation and that you're all fully formed humans and you're equal and that conversation is good. It's not. Love's not even good at this table. Love's not good. Conversation's not good. We have told you 10 times. Why aren't you now saying what we told you? This is a cult.
Achieve this love of which you speak.
Well, I think dropping the resistance.
I know I keep pausing, but look at this older white lady who's been in it now for a while. We can tell. I think she's on stage 2 or 3. And she's probably been piled on like this before for having an independent thought. And she knows better. This is the old white woman who said, I know I'm a racist because I'm white and all white people are racist. Look at her. It's like the gif, the meme of the popcorn eating when something is happening and the person doesn't know they've stepped into a bear trap. Look at her spooning pie into her face while she watches the pile. This is just funny.
Save Mustafa Ayyubi, who was assassinated in February for doing nothing. What does
it's about to happen?
You ask us, what can we do?
Here,
serious.
Here it is. It's about to happen. Sorry, I had to rewind it just for this facial. I'm turning the volume down so you can see this lady because it corrects it. Look. Ooh. Okay.
Well, I think dropping the resistance is part of it. And
dropping the
resistance to what? The resistance to what?
The resistance is holding you back.
The resistance to what? What are we resisting?
It feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. And so I don't pretend to have all the answers at all.
You haven't named one thing. You said it feels like a lot. She's asked you 3 times. What are we resisting? Name one thing that we're resisting.
An answer, a solution that's different than what you think it should be.
What's about to happen?
You literally employ the spiritual bypassing to get around any of the pain associated with oppression. I would love to say love is love. The next time someone sends me a note telling me that they're going to drown my daughter, I'm going to be like, you know what? Downward dog it right now. Love is love. Love is fucking love. Seriously.
Now they're all mocking her. Look at all the other white women. Look at the house white laughing and mocking. This is another tactic of cluster B personality disorder. This is another, again, if you understand individuals who are toxic, who have a character disorder, if you understand their tactics, you're better able to understand the tactics of a toxic ideology like this. They will cycle through tactics. There's the crying, pretending to be victim, or threats of suicide, or threats to quit, like Saira. I'm just going to quit. I just nobody values my work. I don't know. I thought I was doing, but you got to send me money, or I'm going to quit. There's the emotional manipulation there. If nothing works, they cycle. If you've ever known a narcissist or a borderline personality disorder, they cycle through. Scorn and mocking is one of the ones they reach. And this is scorn. This is mocking. Now they're dishing out mocking.
Be like, you know what? Downward dog it right now.
Look at her face.
Love is love.
Downward dog it right now. She's making fun of her and saying she's a hippie and she does yoga, probably. She's making fun of her. Watch this.
With oppression. I would love to say love is love. The next time someone sends me a note telling me that they're going to drown my daughter, I'm going to be like, you know what? Downward dog it right now. Love is love. Love is fucking love. Seriously.
So we can acknowledge, I'm going to acknowledge that, yes, after you said that, I can acknowledge, yes, I see racism in me after I've said no because of what you women have.
Okay, let me translate this. I am now coming around because I don't want this to happen to me, what just happened to that woman over there. I'm going to show you that I'm a good student of this cult, and I'm moving straight ahead. Can we just get to the phase where you're not going to mock me or shame me anymore? I just saw what happened to her, and I would like to become one of the quiet pie eaters who doesn't get singled out anymore.
I've said, we have to understand where it hurts. Where hurts, and we can't take away hurt from other people. I mean, and that's where I think we have to be sympathetic at one point too.
To add to that a little bit is like, we're not dying because we're white.
Right.
I'm not allowed to go somewhere because I'm white. So I can say love is love because nobody says, no, you can't.
Look at them clapping. The two that they were most interested, the two that voted for Trump, the two that said they want to live in a colorblind society that's not racist, the two they piled on the most are now making strides and coming around. And there's a new scapegoat in the group. It's the hippie girl. They're not the scapegoats anymore, and they have to show now they've learned through this. And Saira's actually clapping for her. You get it now. You get it now. Love doesn't work. Why? Because we die. We get killed. It doesn't matter that it's a lie. It doesn't matter that it's a lie. I understand now. Black and brown people get killed if they try love. I get it. Clapping. You're moving along.
That's the purpose. Like, people are saying, you can't come here, even though we were all taught, right, in history that this was fixed years ago. It was fixed.
And my kids, I will never know what my kids even feel like because they are part Hispanic and with Hispanic. I will never know their fear because I'm not there. I'll never know what they fear.
Do you realize that?
So this woman just basically, she's the one that said, if I cut, we all bleed red, which is an appeal to shared humanity, that there are certain universal human truths that we can all understand. In the course of one dinner, they've now got that woman to, at the very end, saying there's no way she could ever understand what her children feel. Why? Because they're not full white, they're only half white. So therefore, there's no common humanity or shared humanity that could translate, that she could ever understand their pain or what they've moved her from shared humanity to this place of racial division with lines and barriers, and which is what they want, where it's us and them, and I will never understand them. Martin Luther King did the opposite, remember? He used actually inclusive language. He appealed to our shared humanity. It was we and us, and we, us, we, us, we, us. Social justice is the opposite. It's us and them, us and them. There's no understanding. There's no shared humanity. It's not possible.
But in this room, the Republican that voted for Trump
have listened more than you have.
And she changed what she said. She said, actually, I get it.
Yes.
And yet
See what
you
happened?
keep saying love is love. And that's why I'm saying white liberal women are the most dangerous, because we think we're so good that we can't be part of the problem.
So I do want to leave you with this. There's no, and I mean this sincerely, my 2 little kids are at home, my husband's at home. I'm not doing this for my health. The reason I am here is because of love. So to answer your question repeatedly, it is because of love. The work that I do is because of love. Everything I do is because of love. And
this is a lie. Nothing you do is because any person who's motivated by love, who is possessed by love, would not react like a demon being hit with holy water when they hear someone espousing a belief in love. This is deceit. This is now lying. This is now, let me try and make you feel more comfortable after the lashing. I'm going to try and make you feel more comfortable by explaining to you that, again, they are all about controlling language. Let me redefine love then. Let me explain how the racism, the division, the shame, the mocking, and everything that I've dished out tonight is actually love. This is real love. Let me explain how all of this toxicity that I put out into the world is love. Oh no, my rental ran out. I knew this was going to happen. I don't want to pay to watch the last 7 minutes. We're not going to pay again. This is abuse, says Laura. I don't know if you mean what they're doing on the screen, or that they want me to pay another rental fee. I'm not paying again. You won't get my money again. Money well wasted, says Davina. Okay, let's take this down. It's not worth it. Also, because I already skipped ahead at the end and there's like a bunch of credits. So we would only be paying for maybe 2 or 3 minutes more. Where they say, yeah, we're going to continue this work. It's so important. Surprise, even though she threatened to quit unless people paid her rent or gave her money to franchise her business, she didn't quit. Surprise, she's still going. Shocker, I know. It was just a fake threat to get money. Okay, couple of things. Let's see from the chat. Kent is here. He says, Merry Christmas to you and Anthony and Tiger. Thank you so much, Kent. It's good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. $6.99 Canadian buckaroos. I appreciate it. I hope you're having a good Christmas season, and it's good to see you. And actually, I flagged this because I saw Therese was like, wow, Kent, an OG. Good to see you. I feel the same. Super Based gifted 5 more Deprogrammed memberships. You're like the membership fairy. Just every part of this series you've been here gifting memberships. I appreciate it. Give it up for Super Base gifting memberships to the channel. And let's see. Pathetic Hermetic says, are all white liberal women like this in the US? Most of them. I'm sorry. I know that's funny, but they're not all this rich. So they're not all at these dinners, but a lot of them are in groups and Facebook groups and clubs, and they go to things that are that preach the same ideology, but not as expensive. Most of them are in woke now, thoroughly, or at least tangentially. A lot of them don't even realize they're in woke. A lot of them think that they're liberals. In my case, I didn't realize I was anything other than a liberal until the very end, and until I started waking up and going, wait a minute, censorship is illiberal. Why am I being asked to support that now? Violence is illiberal. Why am I being asked to support that now? And then for the conservatives and people who are never in it, I know this comes as a shocker, but it took me 20 years to realize how racist this ideology was, because they had successfully programmed me the way they're doing these women at this dinner to redefine words. And so whenever I would have questions about how they were treating a man or a white person or a straight person on the basis simply of sex or race or sexuality, the programming was there, and I would go, well, okay, that's prejudice, but at least but it's not racist, or it's not sexist, or it's not homophobic, or it's not phobic towards straight people. It's not because those things aren't possible. It sounds crazy, but that it works. And so it took me 2 decades to realize, wait a minute, this is racism. This ideology has been getting me to judge and treat people differently on the basis of race and sex. Oh my gosh, could it be that it's racist and sexist this whole time? And they just did a trickaroo and they just renamed racism and sexism? Yes, that's what happened. Yes. Yes. It's happening to a lot of white women, white liberal women in the US currently to this day. When I was indoctrinated, it was the late 90s. I was in college. It was mostly at that point, you were only getting indoctrinated at colleges or online. I did a fair amount of indoctrinating other people online in feminist message boards. But now it's everywhere. Now it's everywhere. It is the mainstream now. So a lot of these social justice groups I join, or these woke groups I join on Facebook, I join to see where it's at, like how far it's progressed. What are people talking about? What are they doing? How the cult operates in small communities. And it's like the most basic soccer mom, wine mom kind of white liberals. And when they're newly converted, like the women at this dinner, when they're newly converted, oh man, they are insufferable, because they run around talking to you, assuming that you reject it because you just haven't heard of it yet, like them. They assume you need this moment at this dinner and you haven't heard all this and you haven't been shamed the way they were and you haven't been through it before. And so they're preaching to you about woke as if you don't know what it is. And it's like, dude, I was for some of them, it's, it's been 20 years when you 20 years ago, 25 now. I'm OG woke, girl. Let's see. Justice says, after watching other talks with these grifters, I believe Saira is a sadist, possibly a psychopath. She enjoys hurting white women because of her racist hatred, like how Nazis empowered the worst people as SS. Yes, I actually share that belief. She does seem to exhibit glee when hurting others. It's not just that she lacks empathy, it's that I think she does get off on hurting others. Post-millennial, this scene is like watching the women experience that feeling of relief after confession or something. Yes, it is exactly like that. Post-millennial clutch fan. And then continues, it is sad. I bet at least one sincerely thinks that doing this makes her a better Christian. Yes. Woke has infiltrated everywhere. It's also in churches, in Christian churches. And that's not where I encountered it, because I was agnostic / atheist, but at the time I thought I was agnostic. And I didn't encounter it there. But since I left woke, I've since met 2 other former wokies. One is my friend Gracie West, or Embarrassing Mom, who I mentioned quite a bit. And another is Monique Duson from the Center for Biblical Unity. And they were both in woke while Christians for 2 decades, for around the same amount of time that I was. But they were woke in the Christian world. It has infiltrated Christianity. It's not in my church. I couldn't go to a church that's woke. I couldn't. I know some people who do, or they're at churches where woke is slowly starting to infiltrate, or they're seeing red flags, and they view it as their duty to try and root it out and keep it out of that church. I can't do that because I'm such a new Christian and I need strong leadership, and I can't be like rooting woke out of my church. I'm trying to root it out of everywhere else. Like, you know what I mean? I can't. Church is where I go to get strong, like the gym, like a spiritual gym. I go there to get strong. So I can't be there fighting a battle. I'm there like, help me get strong in God. Teach me what I need to know. It's not about like, anyway, the point is I can't go to one that has woke in it, but I'm grateful for the people that do and who try to get it out, root it out of there. Let's see. Justice says, I love Monique's YouTube channel, Center for Biblical Unity. Yes, she's awesome. I got to interview her and she interviewed me. That was a few years ago. I would love, I should have her on, ask her if she could do one of our Christian panels. That would be fun. Okay, here's 2. Laura says, let's sort of give Go to send Keri to one of these dinners. It would be epic. And Michael says something similar. Keri should get on the attendance list and invite these ladies to a $2,500 dinner to unwokify these people. I have considered going to one of these before, but it is quite a bit of money. I don't know if that's what if I were to start one fundraising thing, I don't know if that's the thing I would want to raise the money for. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I wish I could get a rich woke white lady who's trying to help me and help me see the light to pay for it, and then I could secretly record. Some people do try to, like I mentioned in the woke groups, there are some people who are newly woke and they're very passionate about it, and when they meet me, they don't understand and they think I just need to go through the programming, not realizing I went through it a long time ago. Yeah, I wonder if I could find one of them to sponsor me. Sponsor me for a dinner. I'm here to get clean. Okay. I think we're done. Yeah, we're done. We're just hanging out now. Robert says, Robert, give it up for Robert Lowry, one of our mods here at Deprogrammed. Also very good at hanging things. Last time he came to one of our house concerts and he helped us with the lighting and he helped us hang a few things. And anyway, he says, thanks for bringing us Netflix dinner for schmucks. That's a great alternate title, Robert. Thank you. Robert, I should tell you, one of my goals for Deprogram for the new year, the lights I have are pretty great. And I have borrowed them indefinitely until they need them back from my church, actually. One of the elders at my church loaned me these lights and they're great. The problem that some of you guys have mentioned, where the lights start flashing or they do weird things like the beginning of this stream, it's actually a problem with this little cheap camera. And the camera, that's why I put my hand in front of it sometimes, because I can get it to reset. The camera freaks out and does different things. And so one of my goals for the next year is to get a new camera. Many of the other goals are already being met. We are redoing we're renovating the room that is going to be the Deprogrammed studio, my office. And that's why I've been in this upstairs temporary location for a couple weeks now, because that room is still being worked on. And I'm going to give you the most up-to-date, straight from the presses. We are now completely done with the texturing. I know I kept saying we're done with the mudding, but then there was more mudding we had to do. There were more problems and like separations and cracks in the plaster. Anyway, we're completely done as of this morning with all of the texturing and sanding and mudding. And so when I finish this video, I'm going to start painting that room, which is very exciting. After the painting, we're going to paint the walls, paint the ceiling. Then we're going to clean everything up off the floors. And then we're going to stain the floors, finish the floors. And then I'm going to, the window trim and baseboards and everything need to be polished up And we've got to add some baseboard in a couple places where we took out the chimney and took out the exterior door. And then we're going to add a light fixture. And that's pretty much it. I think that's it. And so hopefully by the beginning of January, we're in the new Deprogrammed studio. And I'm very excited about that. So, okay. Robert says, what color? I'm just going to go with the same color I had in my old studio at my old house because I really love that color. It's a bear color called Clear Pond. And it's a very light blue, a very light greenish blue. And so that's going to be our blue room. I just find I looked at like 100 different blues and I just kept going back to that one. So I'm a creature of habit. The music parlor room, some people ask about that color because it's a nice red. That one is called Spiced Wine. But I don't think they make that color anymore at Bear. So you have to tell them to look into their archives to find out how they used to make that one. And I love that color. I had that color at my old house too. And I just was like, okay, we're bringing that over. Davina, Robin's egg blue, but paler. Yes, even paler than Robin's egg blue and a little bit more green tint in it. But I would still, it's primarily blue, but a little bit green in it. And it's very pale. But the thing I found with those pale colors is once you get them on the wall, they look very dark. Like if you're holding up the color tab at Home Depot and looking compared to the other blues, it looks like white. You know, like, really? This doesn't even look like there's color on it. It looks white. And then you get home and you put it on a wall and you're like, this is so much blue. So that's the color we're doing. Non-alcoholic spice wine. Yes. You got my number. We're done with the show. We're just hanging out now. So I think I'm stalling because I got to paint after this. No. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for sitting through Deconstructing Karen, which is all about Race2Dinner. If you know anyone on the left who's considering going to Race2Dinner, you might want to send them one of these 3 videos in this series. And I think that's it. White supremacy blue. I was going to do a poll and I forgot. I was going to say, if you were having a racist dinner, what menu items would you have? What items would you have on the menu? Black-eyed peas, white hominy. Try to think of things with colors in the name. White tears hominy. Navajo white. White bread. You'd have to think of a few others. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It's really, really fun. White rose tea, not fried chicken, I'm guessing. Potatoes for the Irish. Okay. Oh, give it up for Cheeky Mare, other mod in the chat. She says you have a box coming your way. Thank you. Gotta go check the box. Therese, it's been fascinating. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. I hope you guys have a really happy, it snuck up on me. It's already this weekend. And I want to get this painting of that room done before my mother-in-law gets here. But anyway, have a nice day. Until next time, which may or may not be Friday, I'll let you guys know. And I'll see you later. If you like the video, please hit like. It helps us with our algorithm. And I'll see you later. Okay, where's that? Where's that ending video? I'm going to go.
Oh, I'm going to go then. And I don't need any of this. I don't need this stuff. And I don't need you. I don't need anything except